What I'm going to show you today are some fundamentals of pitching that aren't often talked about, but they're absolutely critical to ensure consistency of strike, spin control, and just providing that kind of confidence that it's a shot you can rely on, something you can trust, something you can feel, and something you can repeat. It's kind of a third, 2/3 fairway green. Now, you might be tempted to just play a chip and run, kind of play the safe shot, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you're probably going to have to pitch it on the fringe. And we've now got two surfaces we need to negotiate. So what I'm going to show you is a shot where it's a little bit more lofted, but it's flying low enough to get the roll. So it's like it spins on its first bounce. It's like a check release. And we're going to play that with a lofted club. And that might be counter natural instinct here, thinking maybe bump it in with a 9-iron or an 8-iron and try and get it down towards the hole. And that's fine, but that could be quite limiting in how you develop your short game, because we want to be expressing ourselves creatively and developing an expansive short game, because we're not always going to have this scenario. We might need to control the ball a little bit more. So if we can control that first bounce, and pitching is all about controlling that first bounce, we can check it and then we've got control of the release. So we don't want to be gripping it too tight. We want to be just letting the swing weight do the work. And to help us swing this with ease, we can use our body weight. And to move our body weight, we use pressure, we use the feet. So I'm using the GRF board, and I've put a club underneath the right hand side because we don't need to use a big pressure shift like a full swing, because it's a very gentle shot. We don't need a lot of speed, so we don't need a high amount of momentum, but we do need momentum, and the momentum needs to come from the right place. If you were throwing a ball, you'd be using the lower body. You wouldn't be static and just using the shoulder and the arm. And you'll often see this with some people chipping and pitching. The body is almost frozen, which only leaves the arms free to swing from the shoulders, and it makes it particularly difficult to get the flight they want, so they start trying to do the work of the club. So what we want to do is we want to start from the ground, and it's literally a side-on underarm throw. And if we were going to throw the ball fairly low, the shoulders, the upper body, would be more level, as opposed to this. This would be more of a high throw, okay? And we want a low angle of attack. We want a low ball flight. So with this in mind, when we step forward, making sure the right arm just hangs and is more extended, not locked out. We're not deliberately holding the arm rigid. We're just letting it hang down from the shoulder, just as you would if you were throwing. So if you stand, feet kind of hip width apart, we don't need a wide stance, ball in the middle, just let the arms hang naturally from the shoulders and just grip the club there. So you may feel, in an effort to keep the hands kind of level, you may be feeling more weight on the left side. And that's why I put this club underneath the right hand side of the board. So to start with, the weight's on the left, and to move the golf club, instead of using the arms, we're using the board, we're using the lower body, just as you would if you were throwing. And that's going to move the swing weight. Now when we stand to the golf ball with the ball in the centre, we're going to open the face slightly, which again may seem a little bit counterintuitive considering we're trying to hit the ball low, but it's the angle of attack and it's the strike point on the club face that's giving us the low launch. So we're setting up, ball in the centre, shoulders fairly level, shafts just neutral, there's no real lean forward or back. Weight's favouring the left side, that's going to help just encourage this downward angle of attack. And I'm actually releasing, we're actually letting the club release here. We're not holding on and trying to hit down, we're actually letting the club swing here. It's almost like the club's falling. But because the weight's on the left side, because we are tilted, you could even imagine you're on a downhill slope with your upper body, and this is what's encouraging the angle of attack, because we're letting this club swing, but the way we are orientating the body means the whole swing is going down. So we want the loft on the face, we want the bounce, and therefore the wrists work like this, as opposed to rotating. So to get this rotation, we're using the body. And that is minimising this rotation with the club because it's coming from here going to get more consistency at impact. So really happy with that shot. Got the flight, got the release, didn't quite break in, stayed quite straight, but I'm happy. It's a 4-footer. But I'm more happy with the strike and the swing. It was a very quiet swing. I struck it off the bottom of the club, exactly where I wanted to, so it might feel quite dead. That felt a dead strike. It's a really nice feel I like to have with the pitching from this distance. It's a very dull kind of thud kind of strike. It lands with check and then just releases. And for that particular shot, my focus was on the momentum from the ground. So I was imagining being on the GRF board and using that momentum to drive the swing. So the origin of the swing is from the ground, not from the hands. And by placing this club under here, that just minimises that pressure shift, enables me to really move forward, stay forward, to ensure that low point is in the right place to get that strike. If you don't have a GRF board, you could always just put 2 clubs on the floor, stand on those and just use those, just to give you some sense of momentum, of weight shift from the ground. Okay, but ideally with the board, the ankles are going to move in the right way, as they would if you're playing a normal shot on normal ground. So I'm going to play the shot with the board in the centre, starting with that forward press, starting with the weight shift forward. I'm not pushing the hands forward with this one as much, just very gentle. It's just a very subtle little shift, just to help with the momentum. Little counter move forward, to go back, to go through, just like throwing. Forward, to go back, to go through. And it's the same thing with the shot. So we're going forward, to go back, to go through. Just to that finish, just recognising where that finish is going to be. Could always just feel the finish, swing back and through to that finish, sensing the intended strike with the ground. How do you want that bounce to feel? How do you want it to interact with the ground? How should it feel? How should it sound? And what's the finish like? What's the resulting finish like? And now we're kind of just reinforcing the movement we're going to make. It's deeply embedded now, this feel. But it's been initiated from the ground. We get that little bounce, that little check, minimise roll. We're controlling the launch, we're controlling the low point, we're controlling the release. And that's how we're going to get that consistent pitching time and time and time again, and a short game we can trust.